Hi everybody, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Power of Mind Forums, Knowledge Nexus Talks and LinkedIn Live session, episode 163. Today we are discussing on the topic of ethics at the speed of innovation. Is AI innovation leaving humanity and ethics behind? To have this topic discussed, we have the honor of having Venkata Raghavan Thirumalai, founder Catalyst, Microsoft Regional Director Honorary, and keynote speaker on generative AI. Without further ado, let's welcome our esteemed speaker onto the podcast event. Hi Venkat, good evening
Hi,
sir.
Prem.
Welcome to the podcast show.
Good evening. Thanks for inviting me.
Sir, without further ado, let's jump into the topic on understanding. Sir, uh, where prioritizing people or technology and meaningful impact on organization and its customers. How do you define human-centric approach to AI, sir?
Okay. One AI itself today is many things to many people, and it's like the blind man and the elephant. Today, everybody feels and they want the AI to be whatever they feel like. I want the AI to do whatever I don't want to do. Like the famous tweet, I really like it. It's today AI is doing my writing and all the other work which I enjoy, creating pictures, creating music and all that which I enjoy doing, but it is asking me to do the laundry, cleaning up, driving I don't want to do. It's all the messy work the AI is giving it to us, and it is doing all the nice works. There was a famous tweet couple of months back. I really enjoyed it. So we need to relook at this. Any technology for that matter, I think we need to relook very, very, very seriously on why we are doing it, what are we achieving by it. Then, and it's a very nice question you ask. Human-centric AI. Really like the question. It's not today. Most of the time we talk about technology. I have answered questions like, what can Chat GPT do for me? What can Google Gemini do for me? And that's a very, very weird question, but human centric is very nice. So there are 3 4 points people talk about when they talk about human centric AI. One is, I'm really obsessed with usability. That is something last 25 years. Whenever I talk about enterprise applications, I've mostly worked with B2B enterprise applications and all that. I've written even blogs on that. And my Twitter, if you have seen the complaints I do, most often it is about companies giving me bad usability. I really hate when our banks don't allow me to copy paste a password. Boss, if I don't copy paste, I'm going to remember simple passwords, which is a problem. And why the heck you don't allow me copy paste? I don't understand. It defies my intelligence level. So coming back, it has to be all starting with, when we talk about human centric, it has to start with user focused design. Keep the user at the center. We are not doing this just because we want to use ChatGPT, we want to use Google Gemini, we want to use Copilot. No, we want to solve a problem, and that this becomes a means of it. First question when I do my consulting is, when I look at these companies, okay, there's an AI consulting. Probably I'm not very smart when it comes to money making. Otherwise, I won't be giving this answer. Is, why do you want to use your AI? Can you do it without AI? Is my first question. And the CEO was called me for the meeting and say, have I got the wrong guy here on the table? So keep the users at focus. That is number one when you talk about human centric AI. Second is empowering the users. I think that is really, really important. Today, somehow we got the notion that when you bring systems, whether it is digital transformation or it is automation or it is, let's take even computerization for that matter, like going back 20, 25 years, we miss this empowerment of people. That I think is really, really important. That's the second keyword I will say when you talk about human centric AI. I'll give you an example to make it very clear. We talk about assuming there is a savings account by a lady, one of these women cooperatives. Let's assume that as the example, the prime minister, women empowerment accounts, and all that stuff. And this lady has assuming 5,000 rupees. I'm giving a they may not have even 500 rupees. Let's assume she has 5,000 rupees. And she has taken a house loan which has to be 10,000 rupees EMI every month. And the bank is on the first month, first day, second day, when the EMI has to be debited, she doesn't have the money. So the bank is going to wait till she gets 10,001 rupee. It's going to do the transaction at that time, get the 10,000 and leave her with 1 rupee. Okay. Now it is 5,000 rupees. This lady wants to withdraw some 500 rupees for a hospital emergency. She's going to do that. The bank A locks it. Oh, till you give 10,000 rupees, it's all mine. I'm going to lock it. That is ethically, it looks wrong. Okay, it's an hypothetical situation. Now, when I say empowerment, this lady should be able to call the bank manager and say, I know your system is locked out. Can you just allow me to do this 500 rupees immediately? I'm standing in this hospital. Today, none of the banks, if there was a system, they won't be able to do it, because they will say, I have to go to bank manager, sorry, branch, zonal manager, finance minister, prime minister, president for 500 rupees. Think about it. Okay, it may look a very stretched example, but then it's a very likely example. We are not, is the manager not worth 500 rupees to take a discretion? 20 years back, I could do that. I could walk into a branch when I started my startup and say, boss, manager, I need this 10,000 rupees to buy something. He or she will discreetly, immediately give it to me. Today, when we are increasing systems, this empowerment of the local branch, this you can extrapolate to any other systems, everything. Bank is a very simple, often bank and insurance are often quoted examples. So for anybody from that industry, please forgive me for that. So second is empowerment. Third is collaboration. Any AI system, according to me, when it is human centric, it has to allow collaboration between humans. If it doesn't allow me to collaborate, I think that system is completely useless. It has to allow me to collaborate. Extension of it, it has to allow me to collaborate with other systems as well. Humans first, then system. Lastly, it should take ethical consideration. That is something we'll discuss more, but these are the 4 points I think a human centric AI should take into consideration: user focused design, empowerment, collaboration, and ethical consideration.
Great insight. Sorry, I was talking on mute.
Okay.
Great insights there. I think that 500 rupees pointer that you mentioned
Hmm.
is very, very practical and real. I think most of the people who have an account today are told to keep a minimum balance. That's
Correct.
another challenge. And if you don't keep a minimum balance, you get some of the charges levied on it, and that eats up what is there in their account also. That's another problem that I think most of the people who don't want to keep their money in the bank are facing. So not to
Absolutely.
not to
I
blame the banking system, there could be considerations, but these are the challenges which are real. So that's the point that we wanted to bring up there.
see
Very.
when I went to the US again, 20 years old back, old story.
Mhm.
So I created my company in the a subsidiary in the US. So they said, if you want to, I'm the Indian entity was the owner of the US subsidiary. This is 20 plus years back. The bank there, Wells Fargo, said you need to have personal account for you to be a signatory in the bank account, in the corporate account. I said, I'm not a resident of US. I don't have a US. My company has US tax codes and all that. I don't have personally, because I was never there in the US on any resident visa. They said, open a savings account. And I said, fine. I opened a savings account just like that. I deposited 500 rupees I had in my pocket and gave it. And then I became a signatory. The company account was functioning and all that. I forgot about it completely. After a year, I was trying to log in. I just couldn't log in. It said, your account is locked. I was wondering, company, everything is fine. Why is it I have to urgently pay people and all that? And then it turned out, a long story short, it turned out my savings account didn't have balance. So that is in turn locked my corporate account, my login.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And if drilling down, it turned out every month I was not maintaining this minimum balance, sorry, minimum transaction. I was not transacting. So they were debiting $50 or whatever. I don't remember the exact figure. And then it finally became zero, and that locked my savings account, the user, which locked my corporate account, and all that. Look at the unintended consequences.
That's it.
This is before AI. I try to worry what will AI do in this context.
Okay, great insights there. That, sir, how do you see? I think what we are doing is the speed that is happening. Innovation often feels like we are moving at a very rapid pace. Then our ability to fully grasp the ethical impact. What is your take on that, sir? How do we balance this?
See, absolutely. See, one thing, at the rate of technology change, one We are all technologists. I'm an engineer by profession. I really enjoy technology. We all keep going to App Store, updating, seeing whether there is any update or not. Somehow we get an update, we feel good as if it's something else. It's the same software, but we feel good. So that way it's good. But at the same time, the rate of change that we humans have to accept and grasp is actually becoming really, really fast. And I pity that way the fresh engineers coming into the industry as well, leave alone AI. It's the rate of change is extremely fast. So AI is only going to make it more faster, is making it faster, and the decision making also somehow as we bring more automation, we are putting more pressure on CXOs to take decisions ever more faster, and AI is only going to increase decision a CTO has to take, a CIO has to take. We are expecting them to do it on a daily basis. I remember when we used to work with Microsoft Network MSN, the rate of change they plan for their portal. This is portal. I'm talking 20, 25 years back. Is that they will operate on an 18-month cycle. Microsoft being Microsoft, their product today, Microsoft is releasing MS Office updates on a daily basis, if not a weekly basis.
Yeah.
Look at the back end work that has to be done, the decisions that has to be taken, and all that. And AI is actually accelerating all this. That is where I think we going back to the first question which you asked correctly, human centric. If you're able to put humans at the center of all this, why are we taking these decisions? Why are we speeding it? What are we gaining? I think that's the right way of looking at it. One, a lot of the experts in ethical AI talks about, all the academic papers talk about something called as responsibility. Don't talk about ethical, talk about responsible AI. They are changing that word. You also go to Google ethical AI ethics, Microsoft or IBM or Google next to it. You'll find all of them, their web page URL itself will not be ethical AI. It will be responsible AI. It's Microsoft.com/ something responsible AI. It is IBM.com/ something responsible AI. Google, most of the companies, not everybody. So I'm sure their marketing agencies have put phenomenal thought on why it is responsible AI and not ethical AI. Okay. The reason is you move it to the responsibility. Once we are able to move it to responsibility, it answers your question. If we are doing it faster, if there is somebody responsible for it, then he or she will use the appropriate speed in which those decisions have to be taken. I think you asked me to give a lot of examples. Let me give you an example. Let's take Zomato or Swiggy. Okay, they are operating millions of food delivery in India. It's evening dinner, closer to dinner time, so I don't want to take a Uber or Ola example. Zomato, Swiggy sounds a more better example for the time. They train their models. Obviously, they retrain their models, fine tune their models every day, so that they can tell their restaurant partners that tomorrow you got to make more of biryanis, or tomorrow is going to be a festive day where the non-vegetarian meat biryanis are not going to work, veg biryanis are going to be there, except whatever, or the vice versa thing. They want to tell their partners that particular thing, and they are training their models on a daily basis, on a fine-tuning daily basis. There is a reason, there is a validity, there is a business use case for it. But what if you come and tell me, boss, I am doing furniture, I want to train my model every day? What is IKEA comes and tells me I want to train my model every day? Why? Furniture choices are not going to change every day. Fashion choices probably every month makes sense, but you want to do it more speed up. Again, I'm not advertising slowness for the sake of it. I'm advocating appropriate speed and frequency and cadence that matches your business. That answers your question.
Lot of pointers there on how responsive AI, responsible AI, and stuff going on there, sir. Can we talk about specifically on the human centric AI? How does it define value, sir?
Again, a good question. So, values, we have to now, ethics itself, if you drill it down, ethics is the study of the philosophy of morally whether we are doing right, wrong, correct, wrong, good, bad, etc. Then, when we come to this, if you look at examples, there are, of course, a lot of biology examples. We have seen how DNA processing has become so cheaper now. We are able to the protein folding by DeepMind. I think that is one of the things which has won Nobel prize also. Phenomenal. We should. I'll urge the listeners to just read that news article or why they have given for this protein folding DeepMind.
Hmm.
The DeepMind inventors the Nobel Prize. It's very fascinating. What is it able to do? How proteins are able to be folded? Fold. When I first read it, why folding is so complex? What is that? But then it's protein folding. We couldn't have even imagined doing those in the past, and that we are able to do now is a wonderful, wonderful thing. A lot of very when you put the humans in center, IBM Watson has been used for years now on oncology. Many of us would have known. COVID-19, we saw how Chinese were using it to take, without doing the complex virus testing and all that, they were able to check just by looking at the lung x-rays and all that. And we are also seeing how by just coughing, we can figure out whether somebody had COVID-19. Whether it worked or not is not the point. But all of that, the point there is we are putting the humans at center. There is a real disease, a problem we are trying to solve. Chatbots, of course, we are all very familiar. Chatbots, say HDFC Bank have said we have put AI in our chatbots. What is it? Most of the time, it's so frustrating to interact with the bank on any other forums. Even to that IVR is something. If it's 100 rupees a wrong transaction on my credit card, I forget that money rather than calling the bank for that 100 rupees. It's going to be really, really tough. I remember many years back, a telco vice president we were working with, he said, Venkat, it was on 10 rupees, 20 rupees. I said, we couldn't do the proof of delivery for this transaction because there's no way we could do that in the old Nokia phones and all that. And the vice president of the telco told me, Venkat, if somebody is going to wait on a call center call for 40 minutes and going to claim a 10 rupees refund, I'll happily give him. Why do you want to worry about whether the backend has verified it or not? That is how you put the customer support. Microsoft seeing AI is a very, very good example. It makes the visually blind people, they are able to see the world in front of them. Again, very simple. If you put again, recently there was this ChatGPT and Khan Academy example, right? Where Khan Academy is able to do a customized learning program for you. Why most of us go for tuition centers? Because in the classroom, it's common for 30 people. Tuition teacher is supposed to customize it, personalize it for me. So that kind of thing, Khan Academy has the material, ChatGPT has the intelligence. It's able to train me the way I enjoy. One classic example I'll always give is I like a lot of movies. So if there is chemistry and it can somehow combine chemistry with movie, I'll remember it. That's how
Hmm.
one of my, it's a real world example. I scored 98% in my CBSE 12th standard way back. And that teacher, of course, I would have liked she told me about movies, but she personalized the training of chemistry to me, the way I understood.
Hmm.
And she was it was her magic. I literally say I didn't understand organic chemistry till I came to 12th, but then she customized it. That's what today that I could afford at that time to pay a very good teacher, get a personalized tuition and all that. How many people today can do that? With Khan Academy, with ChatGPT, we can make it available to for everyone. The other day I gave an interview on Kalvi TV, Tamil Nadu government's channel. That is one fit all. They are able to give this information to everyone. But what if they are able to put a ChatGPT or a GPT or a LLM on top of it, give it in Tamil, something I can't understand? That will be the power of all this. Again, in all these examples, is the human problem I'm solving. I've never told you other than, of course, I use ChatGPT quite a few times. Other than that, I haven't used any technology terms here. That is human centric thing. Productivity, the other very common example, Grammarly, we are all using.
Hmm.
Why today I communicate bad grammar, we can even understand in TikTok kind of thing, but still we want to write a good correct grammar. Grammarly helps you.
Hmm.
Again, they are putting it's not the language, it is the humans. If Grammarly is all about putting the language or the technology at first, it will be binary and coding and all that. No, it's human natural language is what they are focusing on, which is again human centric.
So great insights there, sir. I think you have covered the educational side. You are covering the pain point of how people can utilize AI in terms of getting their pain points. Education is one good example that I think most of AI can solve if it is converted into their native language and it is made easy for them to understand, because that is a bigger challenge. I think most of the English or Western way of teaching has brought in as a tough study problem for the people around.
Absolutely. See, one is language. The next is making it understandable in a format for
Yeah,
me. That is the personalization earlier we couldn't do. Today, the technology is allowing me to personalize for every individual. And this is not some rocket science I'm talking about.
mm,
Netflix is able to do it before you click on the movie that you are going to watch. It is some very high 90 percentile point. Netflix will tell you what is the next TV serial that you are likely to watch. You haven't yourself decided,
yeah,
but Netflix knows by the statistical model, ML, and all that stuff. Not for now, for 4 or 5 years, they know. Why do they need to know it? You are now watching, say, Yes Minister, just a random example. You're I want to know what is the next episode you are going to watch. If not, what is the next program you are going to watch, so that I can download that and keep it in a server close to you.
mm,
That's why Netflix or YouTube, before you click play, it is downloaded already in the backend and kept it in your device. If you after you click, it is going to bring from the US the Yes Minister episode. It's going to be extremely slow.
yeah.
That is why they need to predict. I hear a lot of companies, CXOs telling me, we want to do predictive analytics. Why? What are you going to do after you have the predictive analytics? Then figure out to do predictive analytics. If I predict what you want and still you won't be able to service me, what is the use of that information?
Very valid point. I think what AI is giving you a large algorithm of sets that you can play with, and if you are not able to tap it and give it the way that it is giving you as an algorithm, the functionality itself is not of no use. Rightly, what you said is
Correct.
when you wanted something to be, yes, minister is a great example for what you told. If I'm not able to stream it as you choose, then there is no point in having a analytic engine behind it. Great point, sir. Now, you also touched upon some pointers on AI in everyday decision making. So, anything on that, if you can give us some case studies where AI is ethically used?
See, it is about empowerment, is what I will be talking about AI ethically being used. Um, Healthcare is in a country like India. I think healthcare and education are scarce resources. That's where I think AI can really make a uh, impact. There are examples in the US, like we all saw bad examples. Let me give a couple of bad examples. Corollary is a good example. There are studies, we all know how AIs were allocating beds. We all saw the horrible photographs, whether it was in Ganga in India or the US. People were all in the corridors of COVID. Bed allocation was really, really a problem. Prime ministers and chief ministers were called for bed allocation. It was so bad. There, many of the Western countries we saw in European countries, US, how the beds were allocated based on the possibly predicted life expectancy of the patient. What do I mean by that? An 80-year patient who has no comorbidity, that's a word we all learned in COVID, of course, but was very healthy otherwise, but he has COVID, should he or she be given a bed, or a 40-year-old person with some comorbidity should be given a bed? The predictability A is going to choose the 40-year person because that signal is going to be the largest signal that the model is going to see. But that's an ethical dilemma, right? How do you allocate? That
Yeah,
time, nobody was even thinking about ethics. We didn't have time to think about ethics those days.
true.
The doctors wanted help. Somebody, damn, please tell me, how do I allocate beds? Because it was a problem. It was like your classic trolley problem. In ethics, we always talk about the trolley problem where there are two tracks. That a trolley train or a tram is going to come, it can only go in two of these tracks, either of these tracks. One is having five people standing and another one has one people standing. Either way, it's going to hit and kill either one people or five people. There's no other choice. You have the lever. You can decide whether it should go left and kill five people or one people. The What normally as humans we'll do is we'll not take a decision. Let the
Yeah,
tram go wherever it is because I don't want blood in my hands. But ethically, if you're talking about, you should turn it so that only one person least harm is done. But that one person's blood is going to be in your hands. There's no doubts about it. But then it's better than five people. But those kind of decisions, the ethical questions in the bed allocation, nobody thought about it. But that's what we have. We have now time to consider about those things. How are we doing? Job allocation, again, a very simple example I can give you. There's this famous, often quoted example of Amazon AI system 10 years back was using a job filtering the resume. Nothing to single out Amazon, fantastic company. My respects to them. But it's a documented story. There they and then they pulled back the system also. Their hiring process, filtering of candidates, it was biased against women by the signals it was taking, and then they corrected it and all that. But today, every company is using AI to go through the resumes. They've learned from it. Now they have brought in an ethical angle into it. Again, my point is, it is not to be pessimistic that all AI systems are bad. No, always we have humans. We have had biases. We have always had algorithms even before computers came. So biases, unethical practices are not something AI is bringing. It is as humans we bring it. We have to be super clear about it. Our lawmakers and people will always think, oh, AI is making it. But no, no, AI by itself is inherently bad. Nothing like that. AI is just data and code. You are bringing the social context. You are bringing again the last example. We all seen what Google, the famous example of Google painting Nazis as African Americans or founding fathers as African Americans and all that. But then in my view, they kind of overcompensated. Their systems which were against darker skin, they overcompensated. But in a way, it's good because now we are able to see there is unintended consequences. I tell that example often to the business leaders that even company like Google, which is fantastic, which has invented most of the technology, is not able to recollect or see an unintended consequence. So when you are talking about an AI system, ethical AI system for that matter, you have to be very conscious about both intended and unintended consequences. We always see the first, we miss out the second, and that's super important. Did I answer your
Important.
question?
Yes, yes. You put a dot on it actually. Now, with AI, how do we look at governance and empathy in leadership? Because one way is automation, the other way of saying it, you should comply to certain standards, still be human centric, still look at being passionate, compassionate rather than saying passionate, which is empathy again. So, how do we look at this aspect when it comes to AI and in the leadership point?
Okay, I'll answer from the leadership point. Like everything else in leadership, I always would like to say leaders, especially CXOs and more so founders in startups, you have to lead by example. There is no other way. That is the silver bullet.
Hmm.
Okay, which means I will start with all these CXOs. Uh, at the least, start using ChatGPT on a daily basis. Please don't give it to your assistants. You start using it. Your assistants, let them use it. Your reportees, they can use it. But you please start using, if not anything else, ChatGPT or the equivalent of it, Google Gemini or whatever your organization is using. That is number one. Second, have a most important, we'll not get this right. Be very very clear. AI itself is new. Ethical AI is something really new. So the one of the most important thing, this may sound like a simple common example for any problem you ask a CXO, but it's most important here. You have to have an open conversation. Have people come back and tell you, your customers, all the stakeholders, your customers, your employees, your investors, all come and tell you. So I have an open culture. That is super important. Third, cross-functional ethics committee. A lot of companies, especially enterprises, are trying out this, putting cross, just like we have organ transplant, for example. All these hospitals have an organ transplant, I think ethic committee or something like that. They have a committee which has to approve who gets an organ, because in a country like India, organs are high in demand. We don't have that kind of a supply and do that. So it's high time large enterprises start putting a cross-functional ethical committee. Again, all my thing, you will see there is no, I'm not talking any technology here, because there's no technology solution to this. We always, Silicon Valley likes to think that everything has a technology solution. No, technology, more technology will not solve this problem. It has to be more of collaboration. Technology can have an input, but ultimately the humans. Um, so talking with them, oversight, dialogue. Lastly, of course, metrics. What is going wrong? What is going right? Educate people. Again, and I'll give you an example. One of the companies we are working with, where we are rolling an LLM, private instance of an LLM for a privacy conscious company because of the business they are operating on. We have given them that, and it's about 300 to 400 users they are using. Imagine then a private instance of a chat GPT for a simple visualization part. What we have done is, we are uh, we are telling them that they have rolled out this tool, but many of their people don't know how to use it. They don't know how to give prompts. So we are educating them more than the CIO in this case is spending more money on educating the people on how to use it than the product itself. Product is just chat GPT or whatever they are using rolled out. That's the simpler part of it. But he or she was very had a vision that, Venkat, I'm going to spend more money on educating my people on how to use it. So that's the same thing I will tell leaders. Spend more time on educating the people. Talk about these examples of unintended consequences, until somebody told me the other day, I was talking to somebody and said, I was having a conversation that, okay, we have all seen insurance premium being increased. That's the scaremongering always. Whenever we talk about AI, people say, oh, and government spying, facial recognition, my privacy goes. In India, I don't think so. We have the concept of privacy. Everybody wants our Aadhaar card. Everybody wants our PAN card. I give it, okay, here, please take it. Don't bother me. But coming back, I said, give me a practical example of this. So we were just discussing over a lunch table. And he gave a very beautiful example. You're walking into a fashion store, forget medium, a mall, typical mall in India, okay? You're walking into, say, Express Mall in Chennai. You're going to go and buy a shirt and a trouser. And as long as you enter the store, assuming it's not going to be many people, okay, it's an hypothetical situation. The system, signals there, beacons, sense that you have an iPhone in your pocket. Okay, it immediately increases all the price tags by 30%. Okay, and the minute somebody else comes, Android, it reduces the price. Okay, it's nothing illegal, nothing there. Will you be okay with it? I felt
Definitely not.
really uncomfortable.
I feel really uncomfortable.
Okay, there's nothing I won't say even unethical here, nothing illegal, nothing crime, nothing there. But it looks like a wrong thing. You get a feeling, right? It's wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
Today you can do it. It's not an imaginary situation. There are tools you can determine in the vicinity whether it is iPhone or Android and all that. And this is no government, this is no scaremongering. It's really doable.
Sir, you're giving thoughts to the audience
Correct.
where a
The
business case can be rolled out and
they have my contact number, so I can be the consultant for them to roll it out.
So anybody who wants to speak to Venkat is available on the link below. So speak to Venkat, understand much more on. See, the concept what Venkat is talking is not an undoable story, actually speaking. So it's a story that can predict. So now we are talking about how the stocks prices are fluctuating and how it is being managed based on the oil, crude prices that we are looking at. Everything is online now, and things can be done at over a period. Now, earlier we had one chain of shop where one price was different in one shop and the price was different in other. Now you go to any clothing store, it is the same price across India, across the globe. If you can, you will convert the dollar into rupees and see, still the price is same. Now you look at iPhones. They were very expensive at the time when they launched in India earlier. Now they are not that. Their margin of costliness is ranging between 10 to 12,000 rupees. Somewhere that is the range when you get it from US or here. Based on the size and stuff, the price tag is not more than 10 to 20,000 rupees. That variation can be brought is what Venkat is trying to bring up over the discussion, not to offend anybody to get into a store and see the changes happening on your iPhone and your Android stuff.
And
That's just an example. Just wanted to clarify it there.
yeah, absolutely, Prem. And it's not hypothetical. As
Yeah,
we talked, I was reminded this is not the price change is not hypothetical.
yeah,
We have seen surge prices in our Ola and Ubers, and
correct.
we have all been irritated, frustrated, angered by the surge pricing, especially when it's raining. We'll all be frustrated, but that's when the price surge pricing happens. Again, the driver, they will say we are compensating our driver partners and all that English, but ultimately customers also have to be taken care.
Yeah, yeah. Got your point. Okay. Now, coming into how do we balance the AI innovation with humanity being part of the centric piece when we talk about AI?
Um, See, like we talked about, people are talking about giving a lot of importance. There is a new concept also people are talking about, which will probably help this. They are calling about minimum ethical product. As minimum viable product, people are talking about minimum ethical product.
Okay.
Okay. Uh, the what they are talking is not, when I first read it, what is this? Okay, are they talking me to be minimally ethical in rolling out stuff? No, they are talking about what is your minimum product that has maximum ethically right, is what they are talking about. So they are inversing it, give as little functionality, but ensure all the ethical tick marks are all done. That's what they are talking about. They are talking about this MEP scores and a lot of research papers you do online on Archive. There is a lot of this concept. Recently, people are talking about this MEP. So they say whatever you do, first ensure all your ethical considerations are done. They're also talking about scoring for this consequences, both intended unintended consequence, giving it score and all that. You put that all that down and have a cross functional team looking at all this, and then seeing, okay, is this, should you cut a feature or add a feature to be minimally ethical product. That's what they are talking about. So
Okay.
those, that is one way of you approaching this. Balancing innovation with humanity, I think if we bring humanity first, it will automatically solve. That's my opinion. Ask the question. It's a very powerful question. Though I started by saying, when I first asked people, why do you want to use AI here? People, like it's them hard. It's an AI conversation. When I sit and say, why can you solve it without AI? It really it's them.
Now, I think over the last few years, without knowing or unknowing, we've gone to a situation where we are either getting the text and other stuff readily available while we type the question on Google and it does data mining. So a lot of things came up. Then we started looking at when you type itself, the keywords started appearing. Somebody searched about it, so that's coming up. Now now, with Chat GPT and other AI tools coming in, it is referencing hundreds of websites and bringing you data. So it is doing a deep mining stuff where it brings all the permutations and combinations and places it in front of you for a better understanding. It doesn't allow you, it gives you information which is collected from multiple areas, but that has to be validated by a human. So that I think makes the point of human centric innovation. Is that right way of saying, Venkat?
Yeah, that is definitely one aspect of the whole thing, and people are definitely worried about hallucination. And
Hmm.
there is a new term I keep talking in my workshops. People don't like to call hallucination; they are calling it as confabulation nowadays. Confabulation is unintended lies. Okay, does it permit in a court of law? I don't know, but
Okay.
it's called dictionary meaning of confabulation is unintended lies. The system is not trying to deceive you, but it is giving you, right. But I think that's the least of the problem. These systems are becoming ever more powerful. They are chaining these models. They are having agentic workflows and other things. So they are, even Google has this verify with Google kind of button. So it gives you an answer, Gemini. You can press that button and it is going to go to the Google and verify and give you the answers. So the technology solution will certainly be found to reduce this. But the point, like you said, the humanity, the human centricness has to be something we have to really. What is the answer Google giving? What is the purpose it is solving? And who's responsible for that? I think that is a real question we have to ask.
No, one. pointer that you told was how do we look at the Google answers, what you're talking about when you search. How do we think or identifying the and solving the bias in AI? Is there anything that we can talk about?
Wow, that's a really a good question. Uh, like I said, we always add biases. So that is first we need to really understand. Biases are not something the algorithm has brought in. As humans, we are all, each of us have bias on something. We are prejudiced to something. We have biases. We have preconceived notions, all that. So one of the things that people, of course, we all talk about data bias, data having bias. Okay, I'm only sampling healthy people for a illness. I'm not sampling. There is no placebo. Those kind of things. We are all familiar with those data set problems. People are now talking about in the when you talk about AI ethics, ethical AI, they're also talking about bias of the people who are doing this. The data set, the data engineers, the algorithm writers, the coders, or the management which is actually called for this data, everything could be biased. Again, going back to S Minister, which is two serials I really love. One is most of my wisdom comes from either S Minister or Star Trek.
Okay.
So the science fiction thing. S Minister has a beautiful thing where Humphrey will actually tell that you can run a survey with any result you want. Do you want people to be uh, got into the army forcefully, got, or you don't want them? Either ways, you can make the audience answer. You pre-decide what you want the answer, and the agency will actually give you that answer. It all depends on the question that you ask. So, like that, people are now talking about who's designing these algorithms. There is an inherent bias there, which is why, like I said earlier, leadership, you bring a cross functional team. That is super important. If your whole team who's going to design your AI systems only have senior engineers, PhDs, project managers with 20 years experience, you're going to miss the Gen Z, Gen Alpha viewpoint into this whole thing. You need to get them.
I
Again,
take an example here. I think
mm,
very apt. I think so. This is not with the AI piece where you said Gen AI, Gen Z people. You see, I take it with my daughter case.
mm,
So it's quite an old story, but I always had a notion of buying a TV based
mhm,
on the size of the hall. So
okay.
common problem. Every house's problem is having a TV which is big enough but fits the room, right?
Mm,
So I used to go to the showroom, check the TV, come out, and she used
mhm,
to be there always with me. She was about 6, 7 years at that time. Okay.
okay.
So I'm talking about 10, 12 years back. So
Okay.
I go, I come out, I say this I'll take when I build the house. I look at the TV and the room, I design. One day she got fed up. That was on 2012, Feb 13th, to be
Mm,
precise on the day. So
mm.
she said, you are in the showroom, you will take a TV or you stop talking about TV. I said, what happened? She said, either take a TV and build a room according to it, or take a TV which fits the current room. Over.
Mm,
I said, okay. See, this is a Gen Z kind of a stuff that I'm talking in terms of what you said with AI coming.
mm.
We always think in the traditional way. This size will fit in this room, this is okay. But she had a clarity saying that this is how it works.
Absolutely.
So I took that point. Actually, we went to buy a mixer juicer. We dropped the mixer juicer, brought the TV home.
Fantastic. See the clarity. If you don't have them in the room, this
Yeah,
point would have never come in the discussion. We could have never
correct.
thought about it.
True.
That is super important. And one more thing is when we talk about ethics, it's obvious from a philosophical angle, it's very obvious. But
Mm,
from A, we somehow decide, we think our technology should work across the globe because that's what we have been trained as engineers.
yeah,
.NET, when you design anything, everything it should work across the world. Java, it should work everywhere. Google Chrome should work across the world because that's the
yeah.
Silicon Valley thinking, right? Google, Microsoft, IBM have trained us to think that way. One thing they have rolled out, but ethics is never global. What
Mm,
is ethical for me in India is not ethical from an Afghanistan point of view. or a South American perspective. The bias also you asked, bias also comes from a cultural background. Bias is without culture and the society, you can't talk about biases. Bias inherently, if I go to a matriarchic society, we'll feel they have a bias the reverse way. So, which is right, which is wrong? If ethics is all about right and wrong, that society is wrong, or I am wrong, either one of it. So, it is always you have to think, uh, like the prime minister saying, be what is that? Think global, act local,
Local. Yeah.
local. So, our prime minister comes with very interesting slogan. So, this is one I really like: act local, think global. In this case, we have to act local. Any AI system you decide has to be local. You can't do what works in US in China. That's a classic example. We know why. What works in India won't work in Singapore. You have to understand the cultural a ethics. Everything is on the context of the culture, society. That is why in a room you have to bring people from all the different thing, all the different age groups, all the different genders. And if you don't have it, then you are going to have a bias. It's a trade-off. If you're a small startup, obviously you can't put all these people, you can't afford them. Then be clear that your system will have bias. That is what I talk about, the unintended consequence. Be aware it is there.
Okay. How is importance of transparency with the AI systems?
Absolutely. In this whole conversation, we you can't be having if you're not transparent. You have to be. There is no choice. AI systems has to increase transparency. Unfortunately, they are. You can accuse them of not being transparent because they are black boxes. We all want to attribute it. Oh, I didn't take this decision, sir. Your loan didn't get approved because the algorithm rejected. The other day, I had applied a RuPay credit card to my bank. I don't want to name the bank. I have various transactions and things with them, and I have a very good credit score. They rejected that thing. I asked them, the branch manager, why this credit card was rejected, and she had no clue. Sir, I have no idea why it is rejected. That's, I think, is a excuse of not working correctly, failing in her job, the bank failing in its duty. Then the algorithm is at fault. There I want to know the transparent. If the bank had told me this is the reason why we are rejecting, of course I could have written to RBI ombudsman. Legally they are obligated to answer me, but I didn't. I said forget it. You don't want to give me a credit card, I'll take from another bank, and I got it. But the point is that it is for me reasonably affordable. I have the affluency, I have other credit cards. But imagine for a poor farmer somewhere, he or she won't have an excuse. And we are using this as a bogeyman. That is where I'm really afraid. We are rolling out AI without really understanding the impact our society will have on it. Again, please don't. I'm optimistic. I make my living talking about AI, but then we have to be very careful when we roll out all this. An interesting statistics I'll give you in this for the engineers who might be listening this talk. I read a recent statistics. IBM has quoted this a couple of years back. From 18%, the decision makers, non-technical decision makers, non-technical executives who were talking and who were asking for ethical AI, it is increased to 80%.
Oh, okay. That's a big.
80% of non-technical executives, this is CEOs probably, and board members are asking, and it's a conversation point of ethical AI. So it is not technologists anymore who's asking it. So if you are a technologist, you are an engineer, you are going to get this question. So apart from your AI algorithm, start reading philosophy
I
class and
think
ethics.
I'll take another example while we talk on this. I think today's mobile communication with WhatsApp or the maps or anything, anybody is able to navigate with ease, right? So I think with the tools like AI and others, they are able to talk in that language that they want to, and AI converts that into the required thing and gives the right answers. That is one way of looking to what you are talking about, is what my understanding is. The second point is it's a blessing in disguise, I think I would say, because most of the voice enabled things are either Siri or Google Home, your Alexa. If they don't also, they'll try to tell you this is what you asked and this is where we stand. So the older generations have learned more. People who don't know anything are asking questions, the right questions, I think, which is enhancing the AI capabilities much more. As you said, 18% to 80% is a huge jump,
Correct.
right? So it is taking things on a right way, is what I think.
Correct.
From a CEO's role, how do you think uh, business owners what steps they can take embedding ethical considerations into their company's culture without slowing down innovation? So, from a CEO's angle.
Yeah, we talk about leaders, so that's why again the CEOs. That will be the same recommendations. You have to lead from example. You have to know AI. Please, 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 CEO, start learning about AI. There's a lot of good books. One of the books I'll recommend on this subject, not directly ethical AI. That is a subject you might want to leave it to experts. But there's a very good book called Coming Wave by Mustafa Sulaiman. He's the Microsoft AI CEO, DeepMind, one of the co-founders and Microsoft AI CEO. He's written a beautiful book, Coming Wave, who puts in all this slightly at a larger perspective. So he takes a 10,000 or even 100,000 feet overview and say what is going to happen in this whole thing. And he's a man who has seen this right in the front. That's a beautiful book. I'll recommend CEOs to do. Get your hands wet by using ChatGPT and other things. Get like everything else. Have an ideation team. Have an ethical team. If it's a larger company, if it's a smaller company, you have to find a cross-sectional people who will also be looking into these things. One of the reasons I strongly say it's no more a choice for you. Legislations are coming very very fast. Governments are coming after whether it's small big, that you have to be dark. Government of India recently had a paper against dark patterns. You can't be doing dark patterns in your SaaS service, for example, like that. On ethics, a couple of days back I read a news article that Government of India has approved about 8 projects on 8 projects with a view of ethical AI projects. They have approved. IIT and other things have approved. Singapore has a model AI framework. So all this is coming really fast. So either you start investing and get ahead of the wave, or the legislation is going to come and imagine if your competitor has this and they are compliant by law and your system is technically superior but not compliant, you're going to lose out immediately. It's not by choice anymore. No more you can say like Uber. We all know the or the WeWork example. We know Uber said the classic story 15 years back. We know Uber didn't get permission. They built the cars, rolled it out, and then went to the municipalities by permission. No, those days are all long gone. You better get the permission before you do the AI systems. That's how it's going to go. So the CEOs have to lead by examples and then do educate your people. Until you engineers may not even know about this. For me itself, I've till a few years back I started reading about this. I said, ethics, what is ethics? It's just right or wrong. If you show me, I'll know. It's not so. You go into it. It's really complex subject.
So I put a link there. Is that what you're talking about, Venkat? I'm scrolling it down there. So
The Coming
that's,
Wave, the book.
yeah,
I don't know whether he has a website. Okay.
yeah,
Mustafa
I
Saib.
saw that,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. Same, same, same. Yeah.
yeah, so I put that this book of groundbreaking new AI entrepreneur Mustafa Sulaiman, right? This is
Yeah,
the
yeah,
title.
better to search for Mustafa Sulaiman if you, and he has given a lot of YouTube talks and all. You might want to listen to
Okay,
it.
okay, okay. So this is a book what Venkat is trying to tell us to read it around. So have a look at it. I've just put the link there. Just have a look at it, and that's about on the AI part. Okay. Taking our step further to our discussion is how do you think uh, ethical innovation and trends that we need to watch out? What is your take on that? What ethical innovation trends we should watch? What is your thinking pointer on that?
See, like I said, governance is something definitely. If you are a larger company, I will strongly start looking at the emergence of governance in this field. If you are a
Hmm.
smaller company, I'll say, how do you take it to your advantage? Larger company, it's an existential crisis. Smaller company, I'll start seeing, is this an opportunity? Can I wedge into a larger opportunity by being ethically correct? Can I go and talk to somebody saying that, oh, your product, healthcare company, and if I'm going to go and offer them, can I tell them I'll do personalized thing in my system? So small companies, it's all about business, right? Can I use this to my advantage? Of course, you have to do the work for that. Education is a fantastic opportunity that is happening more than we realize. The forefront of this is going to be in AI in general, is going to be on education. Is going to be for, of course, in the Western countries, it's a very different problem. Self-driving cars and all that. I think in India, it's more going to be healthcare, education. If I were to put two of that in the forefront, sadly, if things don't go in the world, it might be used as we are seeing in Ukraine or Middle East for warfare, which is also we are seeing all this AI. Can a AI automatically kill a human? Is a probably today's systems are killing even without humans in the loop, though nobody in the Western world wants to agree to it. Those are all things coming, and I hope it in India at least. Uh, and even these wars get over soon and all that, but those are considerations we all have to get
Okay.
into. If you're a smaller company, you're using these systems for your decision making, promotion, again, whatever we talked about, biases, and all that will come into play. You have to be very, very careful.
With that, I think Venkat, I have come to a conclusion or
Okay.
on the pointer that I wanted clarity to have the audience know about what you think about AI and stuff. So we've been talking on the topic of ethics at the speed of innovation. Is AI innovation leading humanity? And ethics behind. So that's the point that I would like to summarize some pointers that I have taken on what we've done. So we spoke about human-centric AI, defining the value. Then we spoke about bridging gaps between speed and ethics. Then we spoke about AI everyday decision-making pointers. How do we look at blind spots? What are the ethical ways that we should look at? Some case studies, we spoke about governance and empathy in leadership and AI. So that is one point that we took about. Some pitfalls we have spoken. We spoke about CEO's role in shaping ethical AIs as a culture in the organization. Some of the biases we spoke, and how do we connect, and what are the next generation leaders looking at, or what they are supposed to look at AI in specific, more usage of AI, and how do they look at first being they use AI and start understanding it, then the telling the teams to look at it and make use of it because it gives you a lot of precise data from various other uh, uh, reference points across the life and how AI should be transparent and the importance of being transparent is what we spoke about. Then we spoke about balancing AI innovation with humanity. These are the consideration points that we discussed, Venkat, and it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Any last minute pointers that you would like to add?
I think it's a very exciting world we are entering. First time, I think, like I said, like I started saying, usability is something that I really obsess with when I design systems, and
Mm,
AI really opens door on the usability. I'll just, if you permit me, just I'll take 30 seconds to give an example. One
yes.
example I often quote is that your Netflix or your other applications in your phone, consumer applications, personalizes it for you, right? It
Mm,
knows that you're using it. It tells you morning of the day, Swiggy tells me breakfast ordering. Later in the day, it tells me lunch ordering and all that simple things, right? But it's able to do. Imagine a SAP system. Imagine a Tally. Imagine your even Microsoft 365 for that matter, or Google Workspace, whatever it is. I line of business application. Think of any line of business application. I always, if I'm working on logistics and shipping,
mm.
I'll click the fourth menu, seventh sub menu, eighth thing, and I'll enter. Why can't the system automatically place that shortcut on the home screen? Simple thing. It doesn't. None of our enterprise applications today personalize, because to do that personalization is really really difficult from an engineering perspective. That with I think can make it really easy. React framework or your Angular framework or Node.js add a bit of AI magic, can automatically do this. You don't need to think. That's the low hanging fruits we can actually do if we think about it. But we don't take that effort because some CEO will build this system and just give it to the users. They don't watch. So that is where I will see these are all obvious things in front of you. I don't want the, I'm not excited about the world changing rocket science thing. I'm more practical things that people touch. So in that way, I'm very happy on the topic you gave me. I really, it was a pleasure talking to me, and thanks for inviting me.
Wonderful, sir. So, Venkat, thank you for being here. With this, we come to a conclusion of our episode of today. We have been doing LinkedIn Live, and we've been streaming on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Hope you found this discussion valuable. Thank you for joining us today. Tomorrow's discussion for our 164th episode is Reimage Management, a 50-year vision for the future, value and growth with the Regenesis system at 6:30 p.m. IST. Looking forward to see you there. Till then, I think one pointer is what I've got from Jivita message which is coming. Just bringing up before we conclude.
Thank you.
So this is one thing that we've got. Thank you, Jivita. Thank you for putting this on the question. I think we answered this question. Thank you for being part of our episode today. Thank you, Venkat. Bye for now, Venkat.